Can we move on and talk about fatal mistake number 5? Because this is one of my favorite ones: growth addiction through acquisition.
Yeah.
And missing the real profit engine of maximization and retention. And for years I've talked about this AMR model, which I passionately believe of the 3.6 billion increased revenue and profit that we've put in our clients' businesses in the last decade and a half, AMR is 80% of the contributor to that. So why do clients fall, just like they get hung up on the vanity metrics of revenue, why do they fall into the trap of thinking that it's all about acquisition of new customers, and they miss that focus on the real profit engine of the M and the R, the maximization and retention? I'm really interested in your take on this one.
I keep saying it. It's because somebody once upon a time has said, what you need to do is acquire new customers. I'm really clear. I became the manager and director of a bank. And one of the early things I had to do was to sign away what's known as a chaps payment to 17 million pounds. So a customer was sending 17 million pounds away from my bank to another bank. And I turned around and went, that ain't good business.
Yeah.
Why are we sending it? Well, the customer's died. So I went, okay. So have we got the sons and daughters accounts? No. How old was the customer? 91. So we had a long time to work out that they had sons and daughters that banked at Lloyd's. And therefore, we were sending 17 million away.
Yeah.
So I asked a question that says, so we are losing 17 million pounds today. You're the bank manager. How many accounts will you open today? He said 5. I said, what will the average value of those accounts be? He said £2,000. I said, so we are losing 17 million and you're generating 10 through acquisition, 10,000. Yeah. Go away and calculate how many accounts you have to open at £2,000 to make up for losing this customer today.
Yeah.
Then work out the cost of opening, right, thousands of accounts, when actually what would have been a good idea about 20 years ago was to say to the customer, would you mind if I met your son and daughter? Because I'd like to give them the most amazing service. And as a result of that, if the customer had died, the monies would have stayed with the bank. So, there's no point in dragging them in through the front door if you've left your back door open. And I know lots of businesses that do not measure people leaving, because they will leave. People will die. People will move house. People will go abroad. Right? There'll be lots of reasons why. And again, in your report, you highlight that there will always be a reduction in the number of customers through no fault of your business. So I get that you have to get some in to stand still. But I tell you what, if people leave because of bad service, if people leave because you've not built a relationship with them, you've not talked to them about the latest appropriate product and service for their needs and a competitor does, those people will leave. And as a result of that, you are not helping your business if all you ever do is spend a load of money on marketing to bring them in and no money and no time and no process for keeping the ones that you've got, because it costs more to acquire new than it ever does to keep them. And there's lots of different ways you can have relationship building strategies where people will want to stay with you. So it is a fatal mistake that you are obsessed with acquisition and not retention and expansion.
Great summary. I just want to play on the point that you made there about the cost, because I think these stats that I'm just going to read from the report, because they are stark, and I think they really reinforce exactly what you've just talked about. Acquiring a new customer can cost 5 to 25 times more than keeping an existing one. Increase retention by 5%, and you could see profits increase by 25 to 95%. And here's the kicker: selling to an existing customer has a 60 to 70% conversion rate, success rate. With a new one, you're down at 5 to 20%.
Again, it's stark, but if people really thought about how they understood customers, if I've got a customer that is really pleased with what I do for them and I introduce a new product, it does not come as a surprise that they say, Chris, I have a trust-based relationship with you. As a result of that, I never knew you did that product. I'm glad that you do, because I got it from somebody else where I haven't got a relationship. So of course I'll talk to you about being my provider. Because Stephen Covey talks about relationships being like a bank account. The more credits there is, the more trust there is. So it won't take me time with a brand new customer to build that trust. But existing customers, they're already in. And if I'm giving them what they want and I exceed their expectations and I'm building the relationship, of course they're going to listen to me when I talk to them about expanding the share of wallet by giving them more appropriate products that come from my business rather than having disparate one-off transactional relationships somewhere else.
Growth lever, growth fatal mistake number 5, the growth addiction through acquisition and ignoring the profit engine of maximization and retention. Please, 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 if there's one of the fatal mistakes that you go and do a deep dive on, it's that one. Take the AMR model around acquisition, maximization, retention. And my final point on this one is that very few businesses are tracking and measuring. And when they think about their growth plans for next year, have the appropriate metrics around what are we doing to retain and lock the back door of our business firmly shut? What are we doing to maximize the value and the relationships with our existing customers? And then, dependent upon our growth ambitions, what do we need to do in the acquisition in order to meet our growth ambitions? And that's the way that you should think about it in your business. But in the Fatal Mistake Report, you will answer the 20 questions that you can really take to tailor AMR, customize it, personalize it to your business. It is one of the most important, most powerful growth strategies you will ever come across. And when you get it in your business, boy, will you start to think then about double-digit revenue growth and triple-digit profit growth.